I now invite Kavita Lakhani, President of GollinOpinion, the PR division of Lintas India. Kavita is also co-chair India of the IPG Women's Leadership Network. She's ranked among the top 16 women in Indian PR consulting. Her expertise in brand building, message development, public education, crisis management, and public affairs using social and traditional media make her a sought after senior counselor. Kavita will speak to us about the significance of PR in events, sports, and advertising.
Hi, very good afternoon to all of you all. And I can't tell you how happy I feel when I come to platforms like these, because as much as whatever I'm going to tell you today, I think, all of you all have, such varying viewpoints. And, considering that India's, I would say population is now the young population, you guys have more to teach us and tell us than actually what we have. But today, I'm going to quickly, Nagesh gave us a fantastic insight into the communications industry. He didn't really focus only on advertising. So thank you, Nagesh, for that. Uh, what I'm going to do is quickly de-jargonize PR for you all. And I must say, I'm not actually I haven't studied public relations at all. I've not come out from a mass communication institute like you guys are doing. So my knowledge is really what I've learned over the years and through my experiences. Just to let you know a little about myself, I'm actually a management graduate, not a graduate, actually a postgraduate. I've done my IM Calcutta, and one of the things that I learned is that whether it's PR, advertising, sports marketing, event management, I think your first and most important task is to get your understanding clear. What is that discipline all about? And I know none of you all have started your courses as yet. So whatever knowledge you have is kind of what you maybe Googled, right? So I'm going to just spend a little time talking about what PR is actually. And I'm not going to use any jargon from the books because I never studied from any of them. So my take on PR is very simply that, when you see a brand, why do you go for it? Or why do you prefer something over another? Simply because, you have some sort of a trust factor. Awareness is really all what advertising does. A lot of it is what advertising does. But PR is really about building preference. It's about, de-jargonizing things. It's about building that trust factor. And if any of you all are from I don't know, are you all graduates? Are you all from a commerce background? Anyone from a commerce background? Okay, at least a few hands here. Lovely. Me too. HR college. So, there was this lovely thing on the balance sheet called goodwill, right? And advertising, we can all see ads, right? We can actually read in the newspaper. Event management, you go and actually attend an event. And sports marketing, very clearly, you got Dhoni there or you got Virat Kohli or whatever. What do you see in PR? So it's that thing called goodwill, on a balance sheet. And what is goodwill? Very, very simply, goodwill is all about, that you trust a brand, you prefer it over another brand. Why? Because you know it and you know something about that brand appeals to you. Okay. So what does PR do? It really creates that trust factor. There's awareness at a level, but positive awareness and a preference created. So it's very simply, you know, one very, very critical aspect if you're going to like approach any brand as a consumer. And, very often we talk about budgets. Now Nagesh has given us all the numbers possible. So I'm not a numbers person at all, even though I'm a commerce graduate. But one of the things that I feel is that, if you don't trust a brand, you're not going to buy that product no matter how much you want it, or everyone tells you around you. So I think what PR does is ensures you understand the brand, ensures that you have reasons to believe in what the brand is saying. Yeah, you've also got to believe in it, right? And also people around you, they believe in it, they are talking about the brand. So people that you look up to or who are influencers in your life, who you would like take their word for it. So for example, if you're buying a laptop, you would believe Makhani, who is on one of the TV channels talking about technology, right? So PR works a lot with stakeholders like that. Yeah. uh, any questions so far? So, that's one critical role, which is to create positive awareness. And the other thing that, PR does very, very effectively is that when there's a brand in trouble, okay? So, for example, a brand which is going through a crisis. You have, McDonald's had a bomb blast at a railway station. Can anyone name a crisis which has just happened now? Yeah, Maggie is a very good example. So, actually, I should have thought of that straight away. It's so recent. So, Maggie is a brilliant example. They had done a lot of work with stakeholders across, and they made a few mistakes also through the process. They took on the authorities, which was not the smartest thing, as in authorities, as in FSSAI and various government bodies. So, one of the things that we tell clients is that, work a lot with your consumers, talk to them a lot, but don't take on authorities straight on in the media, because it's a no sum game. I think you've got to collaborate with the Indian government and any Indian authority. But I think what Maggie did wrong was that. But what they did right was a lot of work with consumers before. And how did they do that? They worked very, very closely. I mean, on their product, they've been working. We're all Maggie fans. I am a Maggie fan. I've grown up on it. So, we all love Maggie. But, they've done a lot of advertising. They've done a lot of engagement with their end customer. They've done a lot of talking to media to really bring forth the product, the way it is, the variants of the product. So in that sense, they've done a lot of sampling. They worked with bloggers to ensure that they write positively about the brand, and not coming through, like, here's a piece of communication, here's an ad, or here's a mailer, and now kind it out. They've actually worked with bloggers to get them to their factory and take them through the manufacturing process. They've got them to sample the product. They've got them to participate in the making of the product very often. Not only bloggers, but editorial media. And I think that's where the difference lies. And today, when we look for any product, the first thing that we do is we go online. We try and assess what is being said about that brand, which is not being put out by the company itself. And that makes all the difference for us. In at some level, at a subconscious level, we don't believe everything that's up on the internet either. I think because we use our gray cells. But a lot of what's up there on the internet today, and it's coming from third party people. So for example, a blogger, a journalist, somebody who's maybe been invited to the Maggie factory, or who sampled the product, who's very positively about the brand. So that's in the social media space where all of us go, right? On Facebook, Twitter. So all those platforms. Now, there is this fine line of digital and PR. So I often say, there is nothing. I mean, communication is communication, whether it's advertising, PR, digital. It's finally, what are you saying to your customer or your end user? And and how is it being said? What is the objective? So, for example, advertising will be a lot about awareness or brand familiarity. PR, to a great extent, about advocacy or about ensuring trust. Digital is a lot of engagement. So, hearing, it's a two-way street. And we all, I think more y'all use a lot of social media. Yeah, in this day and age, I think that's the changing face of PR. There's going to be a lot more of social PR or online PR versus, so a lot more of, talking with the customer. And earlier it was just using like journalists or using influencers who were in the traditional media space. So either TV or in print. But now it's like TV, print, and radio. But and that was all a one-way street. I mean, we didn't have a chance to kind of talk back with the brand. So now with social media, I think that is really where the fascination. I mean, I'm excited about what I do in PR because of this reason. There's such a there's such an interesting kind of a dynamic that's playing out. earlier we used to talk to editors and journalists and, just have that set bunch of people to talk to, and across the country, Hindi, Marathi, whatever, all the languages. But now I think we are talking to the end customer, and that's where the complexity of PR come to the picture. How do you control, or how do you actually engage with them as a brand, and yet, ensure that, you're getting your brand messages out, you're being very casual about the tone, you're not getting swayed here and there. It's an objective way of communication. So I think what Maggie did right was that they did a combination of things. After they went through that crisis. So first of all, they tried to communicate very, very actively even after the crisis. And when you have negative coverage around your brand, or you're going through a lot of stress, the first thing that most companies, or a lot of companies, do is that they back out. They can't face the scrutiny of media, so it's almost like a trial by media, and they don't want to go through that. But what Maggie did was they actually stood up front and started responding left, right, and center. And they did a lot of integrated communication. So whether it was the advertising or the PR machinery playing together, and the digital space. So they came out with this lovely social media film. I don't know whether any of y'all saw it. So it was all about my Maggie, and I don't know whether all of y'all saw it or not, but it kind of resonated with me a lot. And you know, I it just made me think, all these years nothing has happened to me because of the supposed led content. So I guess it should be okay, and I can trust this company. It was a slow process, but I think, in a sense, PR doesn't work like really fast overnight, no magic, no nothing. It is a very gradual process, but it's a very, very, I would say, like the banyan tree. Yeah, the roots run really, really deep in, and that's what you got to work with. So I don't know whether I've kind of given you all a bit of a, like, an overview or a glimpse into the PR world. But if you're like, okay with it, I want to spend like just a few more minutes talking about all of these disciplines and where does PR play into. you know, Without exception, every organization, whether it's a sports management firm like a Procam, for example, which runs your marathon, yeah, or an advertising agency like any of the advertising agencies, whether it's Ogilvy, Lowlintas, FCB, any of them. And sorry, what's the last one? Event management. We got all our event management firms, the largest ones, a Whiscraft or a Fountainhead. You can go on and on. All of them, without exception, need to do the same thing which I talked about, which is build trust with their end users, their stakeholders, and hence all of them, without exception, need PR. So I think, this is almost like a universal, it's like a hygiene factor. You need it. The ups and downs of the industry, the world, do not impact this profession at all. And I think it's quite an exciting space to be in, because if you want 100 careers in one job, I think PR is that career. So I think you should go for it, understand more about it, because like Nagesh very rightly said, you should just completely follow your heart. If you gravitate, learn more about all of these by speaking to people, who are maybe your friends who've already entered in PR, advertising, digital, I don't know, whichever space y'all feel you're like excited about, and then make up your minds, because I think each of these areas of communication are very, very interesting. There's room for great quality professionals, because one of the biggest problems right now is that India is growing very, very fast, but the quality of talent and the number of people, qualified professionals, are much less. So there's a huge demand for all of you guys. I can't see a better time for y'all, whether it's in, by the way, whether it's in India, y'all be like hot, very, very hot. And if y'all go abroad, like markets like Dubai and all of that, Indians are very, very highly regarded, because they bring in a lot of understanding, education system for whatever it's worth. I know a lot of bad things are said, but Indians seem to shine professionally anywhere in the world. And markets like the Southeast Asia markets or the Middle East markets is where There's a huge demand for whether it's PR professionals or advertising or event management or sports management. So typically, by the way, I never have a monologue. This is the first time I'm doing this, having a monologue. So if there are any questions, I'd be quite happy to take them. And if you all don't have any questions, it's perfectly fine. I do understand it's day one. They're always going to be more than welcome. But I think they need to make up their minds after going through the course. They need to actually talk a lot among their friends and then understand it before you walk into anything. Yeah. I think no questions. Yeah. By the way, Nagesh and I are co-panelists for a lot of events and also colleagues. Yeah. Yeah.
Just touch upon that briefly, Kavita. I think it will help them.
So Nagesh wanted to actually ask me to touch upon proactive PR and reactive PR. Do you all, I mean, does anyone know, have any view on it? Okay, so proactive PR, again, we'll just keep it really simple, no jargon, no thing, because it's day one. Let's not kind of, overload you all with things, yeah? We keep it really logical. Proactive is when you do something, to actually promote something very actively, it's almost like you want to do it because you want to get a message across to your end user or to a stakeholder who could be a business partner, like a banker, for example, a financial services firms to sell mutual funds. So who would they talk to? They would do a lot of education for the, so that is proactive PR. Yeah. So education around a product or talking about the positive aspects of a product would be seen as proactive PR. Reactive PR is when, essentially you are holding back, you're only responding to things, so you're reacting, you're not actually getting out there and making a point at all. When will you use proactive PR and when will you use reactive PR is the question, right? So in proactive PR is typically when you have a new product launch, you have something fantastic to talk about your company. There's this lovely company and it's never ever talked to the world around them, because they've been very very media shy and they feel like, oh, let's just focus on our business, let's not kind of tom about our achievements. But the world needs to know, otherwise your customers won't really, like, how do they believe you? They don't know enough about you. So hence it's important to do proactive PR in that sense. Reactive is, you might want to kind of only hold back and respond when you're asked certain things. Sometimes, when you're in the middle of a crisis, or when in that segment, you don't want to really kind of go all out and start talking to the stakeholders, that's when you engage in reactive PR. So, there was a point in time when Maggie, when they were in the middle, the thick of that crisis, they decided to go reactive rather than go proactive, because they felt that any that they will say will kind of get blown out of proportions, and it will impact their relationship with the authorities. So they decided to play reactive at some time. Now this is way into your PR career, should you decide to kind of move into something like that, but I'll just let it be here. These are two strategies that you employ, but only absolutely clear why you're doing that. So the objective of proactive PR, just to summarize yet again, is to actually promote your or to talk about the positives of your product. Reactive PR would be used essentially when you just want to use PR cautiously, cautious intensity. You want to be careful about what you're saying, and maybe you're worried that, something that you may say may be taken out of context. So you may hold back, measure your words, and then respond to what's being said. However, both strategies are to be employed. They get employed during the brand's life cycle. So, any company will never ever do continuous proactive PR, or will never largely ever do only reactive PR. In fact, the B2B companies, you know, your typical steel companies which are not very, very hardcore consumer facing, like consumer as in, you know, like coffee, tea, toothpaste. Those are hardcore consumer. The B2C, do you all understand B2C and B2B? Yeah. So B2B companies sometimes or largely employ reactive strategies as far as PR is concerned, and are often, you know, what we often do is we tell them, listen, you need to tell your untold story. You need to actually mine your reputational assets. Don't keep it such a, you know, don't keep it so close to your chest. There's no need to do that. Yeah. So does that work? Yeah. Anything else I can answer for anybody? No? But such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much. And I'm going to wish all of you all the best. And I'm going to look forward to seeing some of you all at GollinOpinion. I'd also like to thank this esteemed panel here and the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavita.